Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ad America TV. My name is Anton. I'm one of the e-guides here at Ad America. And Ad America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center here in Jakarta, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. Welcome to all of our audience joining us online, and for all of our audience who are joining through Zoom, there are a couple of features that I would like to walk you guys through. You can use the chat box feature to chat with other participants and also to our speakers tonight, but make sure to use the features wisely. And welcome to tonight's episode of Ad America TV titled How to Write a Statement of Purpose or Personal Essay for U.S. Universities. If you'd like to pursue a higher education in the United States, this is definitely the event for you. So stay tuned. And now, before we begin, I would like to ask you guys an icebreaker question. And the question is, this school is the second oldest college in the United States. Is it A, Washington and Lee University, B, Brown University, C, College of William and Mary, or D, University of Virginia? I'll repeat the question one more time. This school is the second oldest college in the United States. Is it A, Washington and Lee University, B, Brown University, C, College of William and Mary, or D, University of Virginia? You can answer this question in the comment section of our social media. And now, without further ado, to start tonight's event, I would like to invite our speaker for tonight. Please welcome our own Education USA Ad America advisor, Fina Alatas.
All right, thank you so much, Anton. Hi, everyone. My name is Vina. I'm one of the advisors for Education USA based in Ad America. And as you can see, probably, I'm in Ad America right now. Welcome for everyone who is watching this event from so many different platforms, because not only here via Zoom, but we are also on different social media like Facebook, Twitter. We are on YouTube. We are also on Instagram. You can actually also watching us through the Ad America's website, and of course here in Zoom. So I'm looking at people who are in Zoom here. I think it's getting crowded. I'm very excited. So tonight we are going to talk about essay writing. This is part of our monthly event. Every month I always have this event for you guys. So thank you guys so much for joining in. And if this is your first time, please let me introduce you a little bit about Education USA. This will take about 5 to 10 minutes. So just in case this is your first time, I am going to let you guys know who we are. Okay. All right, so let me just hide the video first. So, what is Education USA? We are part of the U.S. Department of State Network, or here in Indonesia, we call it Kementerian Luar Negerinya Amerika Serikat. We have over 400 international student advising centers in more than 170 countries. So as you can see here, we are practically everywhere, all over the world, right? And what we do here as advisors is we assist everyone who wants to study higher education in the US. Bachelor's, master's, or PhD, or here in Indonesia, we call it S1, S2, or S3. And the good news is that all of our services are free of charge. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it is true, and that's why we are here, to help you every step of the way. In Indonesia, not only here in Ad America, but in fact, we have a total of 8 centers and 10 advisors. So we have 2 in Jakarta, 1 at the US Embassy with David and Iqbal, and then 1 in Ad America in Pacific Place with me and my colleague Santika, who is around in Zoom to interact with you guys in chat. And then we also have 2 in Surabaya, 1 at the U.S. Consulate General with Hesky, and then 1 at Unair with Amber. We also have 1 in Medan, also at the U.S. Consulate there with Jeffrey, and then 1 in Malang at Universitas Muhammadiyah with Zaki. We also have 1 in Makassar at Universitas Fajar with Chandani, and last but not least, we have 1 in Banda Aceh at UIN Araniri with Lilis. Now, if there is no Education USA Center where you live, don't worry, because basically we cover the whole country. So you can reach out to the nearest one, or now that you are here with us with Education USA at America, you might as well reach out to us. So what we do, we provide you with 5 steps. So we start with step 1. So like I said earlier, we are helping you every step of the way. So step 1 is research your options. So you know that you want to study in the US, but you don't know where to start. So let's have a chat with one of us, with one of the advisors, right? To talk about some of your options as an international student. And then once we know, the major, the university, we can move on to step 2, which is finance your studies, because of course that's equally important, right? The good news is that there are a number of funding options available for us international students as well. So we're going to talk about that in step 2. And then once we figure that out, we can move on to step 3, which is completing your application. We're getting more technical here, which what we're going to have tonight with the essay session, right? There are a lot of things going on here. And there are a lot of things that EducationUSA can help you also. So we can take a look at your resume. We can definitely take a look at your essay. Maybe you have some questions about standardized tests like TOEFL or IELTS or GRE or GMAT, SAT or ACT. So we're going to talk a lot about that in step 3. And then once you have all your applications ready, you're going to submit that to the university, and then you're going to wait, right? And then once you hear from the universities that you're going that you get accepted, and then that you're going to be part of the US, of course, the next thing would be applying for the student visa. Now we're moving to step 4. We are not going to apply the visa for you, but we're guiding you, because there are a number of student visa options, for example, like F1 or J1. So maybe you're still figure out which one is for you, and maybe you also wonder the step-by-step on applying for visa. This is where we are coming in as an advisor to guide you on that. All right. And then once you got your visa ready, the last step would be pre-departure orientation. Prepare for your departure. So this is part of our yearly event, annual event in America. Unfortunately, we didn't have one here in America this year, but hopefully we're going to have one next year, right? So the event is, it's really interesting because we invite all of you guys who already get accepted, or maybe those who have not gotten accepted, because all of our events here in America are always open for public. But in this event, in the pre-departure orientation event, we give you a lot of information about, how to maintain student visa, the first few things that you need to do as an international student when you get there, how to find housing, how to open a bank account, and so on. What is the classroom experience looks like. So a lot of things going on in this event. So, I really look forward to that next year already, okay? So that's basically the 5 steps that we cover. So again, as you can see, we are here every step of the way, all right? So meet with us, meet with the advisors. My name is Fina again, and then I have my colleague Santika somewhere in Zoom. You can say hi to her. She will help me interact with you guys while I'm giving the presentation. Since the pandemic, nothing changes in terms of like the advising. It's just that we are going digital, right? But we always available every day, just like when we were in America. So our advising hours is from Sunday through Saturday from 1 until 9 p.m. The advising system via Zoom is first come, first serve basis. So technically, you don't have to make any appointment as long as the room is available and there is no one in there, no advisee. I mean, you can talk to one of us, either to Santika or to me. Okay. So I leave you here the Zoom ID, but Santika will help me share with you the link to the Zoom as well. Obviously, there is no one in the Zoom room, the Zoom advising room, because I'm giving the presentation, and then Santika is also helping me. But tomorrow, for example, we're standing by in Zoom. Okay. Or you can email us first if you don't feel like just go to Zoom and talk to one of us. You can email us first if you want to introduce yourself. You can email us to our email center, which is jakarta.atamerica@educationusa.org. And my next slides, I want to let you know what is going on this week, which is our last event of 2020. So this Saturday is going to be very exciting because we're going to basically just discuss a lot of things. If tonight I'm going to give full presentation, a lot of information for you guys, for you to take notes as well. This Saturday, we're basically just going to have a chat, have a discussion. So I encourage everyone to join this event. It's going to be on Saturday morning at 11. So we are going to take as many questions as possible if you have one, not just regarding essay, but if you want to know about scholarship and anything that you want to know about studying in the US. Feel free to join this event. It will be fun. All right. You can register to this event already through our website. You can go to the official EducationUSA website, which is educationusa.state.gov, or you can visit us at EdAmerica's website, which is edamerica.org.id, or you can, add /EducationUSA to go directly to EducationUSA website. Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk quite, a long time, about like an hour, 15, 20 minutes here. I'm going to check the time from time to time. But I guarantee you guys that this is going to be very informative, especially if you're about to write a US essay, or you are already starting, with your US essay, but you still want to know what makes it different, what makes it hard, why do we have this every month, right? So tonight's session is about how to write a statement of purpose or personal essay for US universities, okay? So I would like to start with this statement. The fact that writing the US admission essay is really that important. And I hope that by the time I'm done with my presentation, you will understand about like why I have this every single month, right? And why you don't want to underestimate this one particular requirement that the universities are asking. So each school, each university that you're going to apply in the US, they are going to require a statement of purpose or personal essay. Check if any of the prompts or the questions from each school overlap, because most of the time they will. It means that basically the questions that they are asking is pretty much the same. The words that they are using in terms of like asking what to write in the essay might be different from one department to another, from one university to another. If you're not sure, you can definitely consult to us, and we can like share with you if the questions are basically the same or not. Most of the time it is always the same, right? So that being said, it means that you don't if you're planning to apply to, let's say, 3 to 4 different universities in the US, you don't have to write 4 different essays. You can actually write one great essay for all these 4 universities, right? So are these the same essays? So, probably you've heard a lot about different terms like personal essay or personal statement. How about statement of purpose, the one that I'm using in the title tonight? How about motivation statement, motivation letter? Are they all the same? So let's start with statement of purpose. That's why I put it in the title, right? What is statement of purpose? Statement of purpose is just basically like what it's called. It's about you making a statement about your purpose of pursuing graduate studies. How about personal statement or personal essay? Pretty much similar to what's called. It's about you making a statement, or it's about you making an essay about your personal story. But the tricky part here is that there are a number of universities that they might ask you for, they say it personal statement or personal essay on their website, but actually it's a statement of purpose. I know it's a bit confusing, but then that's what we are here for. I'll be happy to clarify that to you, right? Okay, Fina, how about motivation letter? So this is an interesting one, because I've heard from a number of my advisees where, hey, Fina, can you take a look at my motivation letter, right? So when you say that to me, or when you say that to Santika, that means that we know that you're actually also applying to other countries, especially in Europe, because motivation letter is an essay term that is being used mostly in European countries. Do the US use the term? No. But I know one university, I forgot which, they call it motivation statement, but I've never heard a motivation letter. But are they the same essay? Well, technically it's an essay, part of the requirement that they ask. But the reasons why I have this every single month is to clarify to you that the content of the US essay is nothing similar to any of the essays from different countries. US is like that. They always, like to be different. So, what makes the US admission essay important and different to the point where you have this every single month? So let's see. Writing the US admission essay can be challenging. It is hard. Because it is not as simple as writing your autobiography. I want to spend a little bit longer here, right? I want you to really, like listen to this statement. writing a U.S. admission essay is not the same as writing about your life, about your autobiography. That is not what you're going to put in the essay. Probably some of you will be like, wait, what? I thought that's like what an essay is all about. If that is the case for US universities, I'm not gonna be here. I'm not having this every month. Because if writing an essay is pretty similar to writing an autobiography, what am I here for? Well, technically the story is there. You just need to write it down, right? Nothing to fix, nothing to for me to check, right? So again, you are not writing an autobiography when you're applying to US universities, right? Instead, you're writing a story about basically what sets you apart from the other applicants. And how can you do that? By, remember what statement of purpose is. It's about you making a statement of your purpose. That already set you apart from different from another applicants, if you think about it, right? And very clearly states your goals. Again, your purpose, something that is happening in the future, not about your life. I'm going to talk more about that, okay? The US admission essay is viewed as something personal, and the admissions committee really reads it. I know I use the word personal here, but it doesn't mean that you are writing about yourself. It just means that they are really take this essay very seriously. On a personal level, they really want to know you, but not necessarily about your life. Okay? The admissions committee wants to get to know you beyond the professional and academic achievements listed in your resume or CV and transcript. Things are getting interesting from here on, right? That's why if you received an email from us telling you about this event, if you really read the contents of the email, there's like one line where we said, please, if you can come on time to this event, because the way I create this presentation is from the beginning it's already important, and then it's getting more important until the point where, okay, now I get it. So hopefully, I couldn't really see how many people are watching this, but hopefully you guys are already here from the beginning. If not, that's okay. You can probably just watch it, the recorded version of this event later in YouTube, okay? So the admissions committee, they want to know you beyond the professional and academic achievements listed in your resume. When you think about writing an essay about yourself, that means, you want to show off, right? By basically telling all this. I graduated from one of the best universities in Indonesia with this GPA, and then I worked here, professional. You're talking about professional here, right? They don't want to see any of that. Why? Because you're going to submit your resume in there where where the admissions committee, they will know about your professional experience, and then they will know where you graduated from with what grade on your transcript, right? So they don't want to hear any of that anymore. Okay, they want new information, which is what you're going to put in the essay. Okay, the essay is the only document apart from your transcript and GRE or GMAT where you can do that, right? If you think about it, what does the university require? They're asking you for transcript, they're asking you for standardized tests, which is what I have here, GRE, GMAT, SAT, or ACT. They're going to ask you for your resume or CV, right? The essay is the only document where they are able to know you on a personal level, right? So it is all about fit, because most applicants have good grades and scores. And this is also interesting because I don't know if it's like Indonesian thing or maybe like Asian thing, where wherever we want to go when it comes to like education, we tend to focus more on grades, on academic achievement, right? The interesting part, if you have not heard about this, about US universities, the interesting part about like applying to US universities is that yes, they are definitely going to take a look at your academic achievements, because obviously they are asking for your transcript and your standardized tests if they're asking for that. But actually the way they review the application is holistically, right? It means that they're not just going to take a look at your good grades and then that's it, but then they're going to take a look at everything every documents that they are asking, like the resume and your transcript, the letters of recommendation, and the standardized test, and so on and so on. And of course, the essay. So good essay will make a huge difference. So you will realize that when you do an advising with Santika or myself, we never ask you about your GPA. Why? Because that's something that we no longer have control over. It's already happened in the past, right? Instead, a lot of you shared with me, like when I ask you, why don't you apply to this campus or that campus, and they say, oh no, is this going? I don't think I'm gonna get accepted because my GPA is only like this. And then I would be like, so? And then I use the word holistic, like explain about what holistic means. And then that's like when they start thinking, oh, okay, because, okay, so let's say you have just an okay GPA, maybe 3.0, 3.1. You have no idea how many advices that I have in the past with that GPA, and they make it to highly selective universities. We're talking about like probably like Harvard, Columbia, and all that universities, right? It's because again, the word holistic is really important here because if let's say you have 3.1, 3.2 GPA, but you have like a really strong resume or you have a really strong essay, they will take that they will balance that out, right? So now let's talk about the essay itself. Hopefully by now you are pretty, like you get what the essay is about to US universities. Now let's talk about the essay itself. There are different type of questions, different types of essay questions that the universities are asking. So there's the statement of purpose or just essay in general. So we're talking about 1 to 2 pages. It depends on the universities, but normally they may ask you for 500 to 1,000. It can be 750. It depends, right? Often I say about yourself. I know I said earlier that it's not talking about like yourself. But I'll explain that later. About your professional goals, why this specific program in university, right? And there's another type of questions where it's more focused questions. So they may ask you for 1 to 3 questions. Each questions of no more than 250. It can be maybe 400 or maybe it can be like 500. Again, it depends on the universities. What is interesting about like the second one, the more focused questions, is that oftentimes these universities ask this 1 to 3 different questions. Sometimes it's just 2 questions, where actually when you combine the 2 essays or the 3 essays, it will become one story of statement of purpose. It's just that they kind of like break the questions down, right? But oftentimes it will end up just like statement of purpose. The last one is what I call the unique questions. I think I just came up with this term randomly because I found that the questions is unique. It's not like they're asking you to write an essay. This is quite common. This is quite common if you want to apply for an MBA program. They sometimes on top of their usual essay, they might ask you some other things like I've heard this one university where they ask, list 23 unique things about you. I'm like, whoa, okay, I've never seen that one, but that's interesting, right? So it really depends on the university, right? But there are some universities that ask what I call unique questions. However, we're not going to cover that. What we are covering tonight is the statement of purpose. So the statement of purpose or more focused question, if you have those, that's what we're going to cover tonight. It's the 1 to 2 pages of an essay or what we call the statement of purpose or personal statement, which is because they are basically the most common one. Okay? First thing first, which by the way, during my presentation, if you have any question, feel free to ask that in the chat. Santika might answer it directly, and then we probably going to revisit that question again after my presentation. But if you need to take some notes, please do so as well because we are not able to share the slides to you guys. So please take notes when you feel necessary. Okay. So we're going to get very technical here. Before you start writing your essay, you definitely want to know your audience first. I cannot stress this enough because we tend to forget about our audience when we write one. So, who will read your essay actually? So, it's going to be members of the admissions committee who are typically faculty members teaching in your respective program. So, we're talking about graduate programs here, graduate departments here. Um, uh, just so you know that the graduate departments in universities in the US, they are very decentralized. It means that, let's say we're talking about University of Pennsylvania, Department of Law versus Department of Business, the business school, right? They are two different departments. They are very decentralized. Department of Law might have their own regulation, business school they might have their own regulation, their own requirements or whatever, right? So when you are applying for the Department of Law, the business school won't know, so everything will go to the Department of Law. What does that mean? That means that people who are going to receive your application are people who are the expert of that study, which is law, right? um, and what are they looking for really, and another reasons why I have this specific slide where you need to know your audience first is because sometimes we just forget that when you write an essay and then you're talking about like Indonesia, um, we tend to forget that maybe you mention like an area in Indonesia, but then you don't really elaborate on where that is exactly, and then it won't mean anything to people in the US when they read it. Or maybe you're mentioning an institution, an Indonesian institution, and you mention it in Bahasa, and then for them they will not know what that means, right? So you really need to think about, like, when you're writing that my audience is people in the US, they're American, probably they've never heard about my country or whatever, right? So you need to think about that. What are they looking for again? They're looking for a story. But then when I have this up, when I mention this to people that they're looking for a story, a lot of us thought that it's a story about yourself, right? Oh, okay, so they're looking for a story about myself, right? Not so much. Well, it can be talk about like yourself, but that's not like the whole point of the essay itself, right? But what are they looking for? It's a mental picture of you, who you are as a person as it relates to your fit for undergraduate, graduate, or professional school for your future profession. I'm going to talk more about this. But before we move on, I just want to let you know a secret that is no longer going to be a secret, which is this. The admissions committee, they may read only part of the essay. They may not read the whole essay. Now, there are two type of people. I always mention this every single month when I present this event. There are two different type of people when they heard about this statement. The fact that the admissions committee may read only part of the essay. The first one might think, oh, okay, so probably that means that the essay writing is actually not that important, because if they're not gonna read the whole thing, why would I, spend so long make a good essay, right? That's the first person. And the other type will say, oh, really? Why would they do that? But look, I don't want them to just read part of my essay. I want them to read the whole essay. So I don't know which one are you. I am definitely the second one, right? But I think now that you are here, I'm pretty sure you're also the second one, right? The goal now here with that fact is that how to make them read your essay from the beginning to end. So let me go back to this slide a little bit. Why would they do that? Why do you think they won't read the whole essay? So the reason is because, look, they may be, so their profession is in an admission committee, right? So every year they are going to review hundreds, if not thousands, of applicants, right? And then let's say one day they are planning to, okay, today I'm going to take a look at 100 applicants, right? With so many requirements that they're asking, do you really believe that when they're sitting down, they would read every single essay? The answer is actually no, right? If they read, I don't know how to say it, like just an essay that is not interesting for them to read, they will move on. It doesn't mean that they're going to disqualify you, but if they, after they look at, okay, so this is application from Indonesia named Fina, right? And then, okay, Fina graduated from here, and then she worked here, looking at my resume and stuff. And then probably at the end, they're going to take a look at my essay. And then when they take a look at my essay, it starts with, "Hi, my name is Fina," and then they'll be like, "Seriously? I already know who you are. I already know what's your name." And then I start my essay with "my name is," and then the content of the essay is nowhere interesting, which I will tell you what is a non-interesting essay looks like. And then for them, they would be like, "Okay, well, Fina have a good GPA and good experience and stuff, but I don't have the time to read this essay," and they will move on, right? Now that you are here, and then if you ever want to use our service, I will not let you have an essay where the admissions committee will skip reading it, because the whole point of me sitting here tonight, the whole point of you watching the session is so that we can have an essay where they cannot stop reading it. Okay? And how can you do that? By, first of all, by making one of a kind introduction paragraph. If you are such a reader, if you like to read books, it's pretty similar, right? You're going to probably you go to like a bookstore, and then you see like one book, and then you read probably the synopsis of the book, and then you start reading like the first few paragraphs before you decide if you want to read the whole book. And then if you feel like the author is not really, the writing style is not really your, like you don't really like reading it, then you're going to put it back, right? So now we want to make one of a kind introduction paragraph so that people who will read it, they will kind of, I want to know more, make them curious about what you're going to have next, right? And on top of making one of a kind introduction paragraph, you want to write an essay that no other applicant can write. Let's stay here a little bit more. I want this statement to sink in. Write an essay that no other applicant can write. So let's say you're applying to chemical engineering, and then you know that you also have a friend who is applying to the same program, the exact same program. You will want to write an essay that is not going to be the same with that person and other applicants out there. So let's say probably there are like thousands of applicants. So we want to make sure that no other people can write the same story as you. All right? Is it hard? Absolutely. It is hard. However, at the same time, I don't want you to try so hard to be different. Probably, like when I say this, you will be like, "Oh, okay, now what am I gonna do? Like, what story that I can tell that is going to be different and everything?" Then you start thinking so much about it. I don't want you to be different. I want you to be you. I want you to be genuine. I want you to be original. Now, I see when Indonesian people applying to U.S. universities compared to Indonesian people who are applying to other countries outside the U.S., I really see the differences in terms of like the mentality and everything, right? I feel like people who want to apply to the U.S., oftentimes you guys, which is basically you, I'm talking about you guys. Basically, you guys you already have the plan on why you want to study in the US. I don't like, it's not often for me to encounter or meet with people when I ask them, why do you want to study in the US? And they don't really have the answer. Like it's rare for me to find someone when I ask that question, they're saying, just because everyone is applying for graduate degree. Now I also want to do it, and then I picked the US. I rarely meet people like that. That being said, you already know the plan actually. It's just that a lot of us have not thought that your plan needs to be written on a paper, which is the essay, right? And this is what we are here for. This is what I'm here for, right? To make your brain works really, like level up your brains to actually share that plan into words, into essay, right? So again, that being said, you don't actually have to be different. You already know exactly what you want to do. You just don't know how to put it into essay, right? And again, that's why you are joining this event, right? So just be genuine and just be original. Once you just as long as you know what you want to study in the US, and for what reason, good to go. You are good to go. We just need to, put it into like an essay. And then now probably you're kind of like frustrating because I don't know, like this sounds really hard. Okay, Fina, can I see samples of essays from others? Because a lot of people ask me in the past, like, Fina, how long have you been doing this? I'm pretty sure you have like a lot of successful advisees. Can I see their essays? Right? Do I have their essays, those advisees of mine who already get accepted to all these amazing universities in the US? I do. I do. Can I actually share it with you? Well, if the students say yes to that, I can. And some of them actually gave me permission to do it. Now, the question is, do I want to share it with you? Do I want to give it to you? The answer is no. I'm sorry, but it's no. But I have a good reason on why that is the case. First of all, it's not necessary. I actually did that in the past. I did share some of my successful advisees essay to my current advisee at the time. And what I see, and this has not only happened once, but a couple of advisees where whom I share the essays, where when they make their draft, it's actually pretty similar to the essays that I shared with them. And I found that no, we don't want that, right? We want your essay to be original. Okay, so I stopped. From that point on, I stopped. I can't remember when, probably like 2 years ago. I stopped doing that, and then that's when I started to make this monthly event, right? Because I feel like you don't have to do it. You don't, because it will put you under pressure. When I shared with you an essay from someone who already got accepted to your dream university, and then you're going to start thinking, oh wow, if this kind of essays got this person to this university, that means I need to maybe somewhat write something that is similar. And then when you already have the essay, you're probably going to, yeah, I'm just gonna take, like something like that, similar to what this essay is to my essay. So we don't want that. We don't want you. I don't want you comparing your story to other people, and that way it will make your essay original. To make it even worse, I have a number of advisees who came up to me and then they are so very frustrated. They're very under pressure. And then they said, you know what, because I read this book or I read this, like blogs online, people who already got accepted to, this, dream universities that I want to go to. And then when I read their essays are so amazing that I am 100% sure that I won't be able to write something like that. And then my question is one, are they Americans who wrote that? And then they say, yeah. Well, of course they can, they are able to write something beautiful like that. They are an English native. They're Americans. So that's the thing. You don't need to compare. And trust me, we already have like a lot of advices in the past. Maybe the English is not like 100% super amazing, but they still make it. It's all about like the content of the story of the essay itself. And that's why you are here. And that's what I'm here for, to explain to you how to make a really nice structure of the essay to the point where the university's people will love it. Okay? Remember, before we really move on, remember you are writing a story here. So I don't know how many times I've mentioned the word story tonight so far, but probably like a couple of times, because remember, essay is not about writing an academic paper. And I actually see that a lot until now, until even like people who are watching this, who watched this in the past, and when we do the one-on-one advising session, I keep seeing that the tone of the essay is so formal, like it's just like academic paper. And so I have to remind them over and over again that we need to tone it down a little bit so that it's kind of like a mixture of a story and fact. Okay, so first thing first, now we're getting like slowly writing the essay itself. First thing first, if you're still kind of okay, I don't know where to start. Like, okay, I get it, I need to write an essay that no other people can write, but how do I start writing it? This is my tip number one. You want to create a topic or a theme of the essay before you start writing it, and very clearly know your goals. The second one is easy if you already know your goals, but creating a topic might be kind of like tricky. But I'm telling you guys, it's already in your brain, it's already in your mind right now. You just never thought about like you actually need to share that to the world. You know what I mean? And now I'm telling you, yes, we need to put that into essay. So you want to create a topic or theme of the essay first. So what do I mean by topic or theme? So let's say there's so many different stories that I can share with you, but let's see. I'm trying to think about like one of my advisees essay that I'm currently working on. But let's say you want to do okay, one advisee of mine, I don't know if she's watching. She wants to kind of like mix. So she wants to apply for an art and politics. I don't know if you're watching this. She wants to kind of like apply for an art and politics, and then I found it really interesting, and I asked her, what is this program? It's art and politics. Like I've never heard about it, and so she wants to focus on the like the climate change that Indonesia is currently contributing on, but via art. But then it's going to end up in politics, but then she's doing it via art, right? So then in the beginning, what she has is basically pretty much like very vague, very general. So she's talking about all kind of climate changes that happen in Indonesia. Is it a topic? No, because it's too vague, it's too much, right? So when I read it, she talks about like one problem to another, from one issue to another issue, and I said, whoa, I'm so overwhelmed to the point where I'm done reading her essay. I no longer know what this person actually wants to do, right? So then we discussed it together. You need to think, I told her, you need to think about the one thing that you really want to focus on, right? And so she basically say, well, I want to cover like the whole climate change that is happening in Indonesia. Okay, great. So then that's going to be basically the topic and the theme of her essay, without really specifying every little details of the climate change that Indonesia is currently like experiencing. But she makes it just like very general that Indonesia needs to do something when it comes to the climate change issue, right? And then she talks about like how she wants to approach the art aspect out of it, and so on. That's going to be the topic, and I told her this is a really amazing topic to begin with, right? Another tips that that I would like to share with you, if when you think about a topic, a theme, and then you kind of like stuck, like I'm not sure like what that means, ask these questions. Who am I trying to help? Right? So think about like the program that you want to do. Let's say you're working in a ministry of finance, right? And then the reasons why you want to, like, what was like when was the moment that you're telling yourself, man, I need to continue master's degree? Think about that, and then also ask yourself why in that specific moment that you're thinking that you need to study in a master's degree in the US. Why do you think that way? And then you probably start thinking, because look, we have this problem, right? Like this one issue where we can't really help the low income family across Indonesia or something like that, right? So when you start thinking like that, when you ask yourself, who am I trying to help here? It's people, it's a community, a low income family across Indonesia or maybe across Jakarta or what have you, right? Or if the program that you want to do has nothing to do with like directly helping people, then ask the next question: what am I trying to help? Probably you're trying to help. Okay, the ending goal of all this is to basically reduce the number of people in Indonesia that has tuberculosis, right? And that can be a mixture of the who, which is you want to, have less people get tuberculosis, or the what is like get rid of the virus, basically, right? And another questions that you can also ask yourself is, what is my mission here? Like, what am I doing? Like, why do I have to go through master's degree to get to my goal? Right? So these three questions might help you in navigating the topic or the theme that you can write on your essay. Okay? That will be your topic, basically. So you can start thinking about like these questions, and then when you ask these questions and then all of this question and then you say no, then we have a problem. Then that means you are one of those people who, like earlier I said, there are people that I rarely meet I rarely meet people who, like, like when I ask them why they want to study in the US and they said, I don't know. You're probably one of those people. Is it okay? Well, technically it's okay, but I usually I don't encounter people like that. 5 years working here in Education USA, probably in a year I met like one or two or like that. People who don't really know exactly what they want to do, but only two out of hundreds of people that I get a chance to work with in the essay. Okay. So here what I want to share with you is that the larger the scale of the problem or idea, because again, like, it doesn't always have to be a problem, it doesn't always have to be an issue, it doesn't always have to be something negative that you want to fix. It can also be an idea or innovation, right? The larger the scale of this or either of this that you would like to focus on in the future, so we're talking about like the whole country probably, or even like the continent. But I rarely see people, cover like the whole continent, probably just like one. But oftentimes it's just kind of like a country, like Indonesia, or maybe just like focus on Jakarta. The better. The larger the scale, the better. Okay? Now, there are two ways of writing a memorable introduction paragraph. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, I started very slowly navigating you until you know how to write your first amazing, super cool introduction paragraph, right? So after you figure out the theme, after you figure out the topic that you want to talk about, there are two ways of writing a memorable introduction paragraph. Because remember, the goal is so that the admissions committee will keep reading our essay, right? We don't want to give them a chance to put your essay in the middle of their, when they're reading your essay, right? The first one is the personal approach. The personal approach. I'm trying to think of a term here, but I didn't put it here in my slide. It's a personal approach. It's a personal story about yourself, something that makes you stand out and sets you apart from other applicants. I know that I mentioned earlier in the beginning that you don't talk about yourself, but now I put it here. But hold on. It doesn't mean that we're going to talk about yourself for the entire essay. We just want to give them like a glimpse about yourself, on why you end up wanting to do what you want to do in the future, right? But there's a tricky part about using this approach, right? My next sentence here is if you want to use this approach, the personal story about yourself, it has to be about something that makes you stand out and sets you apart from other applicants. So for example, I have a number of Indonesians who are from the LPDP BIT. If any of you guys are watching this, please say hi to us. But I get a chance to work together with them, and because they are not coming from Jakarta, to the point like I'm like, like I found them really different. That's what I want to say, right? Because they are not coming from like the big city, like the capital, like Jakarta, or like from Java, right? They're coming from like the other part of Indonesia, which is I found it really, really interesting and just different, and it's not common. So I tend to push them to use this kind of approach, right? And then talk a little bit about like how amazing, where they're coming from, and all that. So this actually, if you see the example part, that will be under the category of member of underrepresented population, but not necessarily always like that. But I like to take the location part, like the eastern part of Indonesia. I found it it's always kind of like exotic area of Indonesia that we don't really get to see it every like very often. Or let's say you have unusual experiences. So maybe the reasons why you want to do what you want to do in the future has something to do of your upbringing, whatever that is. Maybe you are growing in a engineer family, for example, and then because of that, this makes you want to do something very engineering-y. Like I don't know what, but like you have like this interesting story about like why do you want to fix, I don't know, like the infrastructure. Maybe that has something to do with engineering or something like that, right? But then it started from like your very unusual experiences because both of your parents are probably from an engineer background or something like that. Okay. This approach, by the way, is actually not that common, because, but then if you want to give it a try, please do that. By all means, please do that. But then sometimes I would say to my advisees when they use the personal approach, I'll be very honest, by the way, when I reviewing essay. But don't worry, I'm not um, uh, like I'm trying to be very nice when I review your essay, but I'll be very honest in a way that if I see that your personal approach is kind of like not that interesting, I will kind of like try to switch it to the second way, which is, oh wait, hold on. I want to give you an example first. I forgot. I want to give you an example of what an introduction paragraph using the personal approach looks like. Let's read it together. The passing of my mother and grandmother from breast cancer when I was 15 years old opened my eyes to a new perspective on life. I became intensely interested in scientific research with aspirations to better understand and possibly find a cure for cancer. First of all, I don't know who this person was, but this person is better. Like I can already guess that this person is applying for a program that is either public health or somewhere in medical world or medical programs. If it's not either of these two, then you don't write something like that, something like this, right? And then why this is like, we call it a personal approach because, and then don't forget, if you want to do personal approach, you have to think about that your story, it has to make you stand out and set you apart from other applicants. Why this is like a perfect example of doing it using the personal approach? Because think about it. What are the odds that when this person is submitting his or her application, there's actually another applicant having the same exact story as this? I would say like almost none. I don't think there will be anyone on top of like thousands of applicants might have the exact same story of this. So if you have this kind of stories, unusual, very, like it's not like everyone have to go through that, then do it. If not, then we can move on to the next approach, which what I'm going to focus more because that's what most of our advisees are using. Okay. The second one is just as simply as diving in directly to the problem or the issue or the idea that you would like to tackle or you would like to fix or you would like to start, right? Remember, it doesn't always have to be a problem. It doesn't always have to have an issue. It can also be maybe you want to better our arts industry of Indonesia, right? There's no problem actually. You just want to, you have an idea. You want to, want to create an innovation or something, right? But this second way is very common, where you just basically just diving into the problem. Why this is such a interesting approach? Because the fact that this story will come from Indonesia, I'm a very proud Indonesian, and there are actually a lot of interesting stories that we can actually tell the reader about our country, right? So let's take a look at some of the examples. I already asked permission. This is coming from some of my advisees. This is not like the full introduction paragraph, just a glimpse of it. So I just kind of like a teaser in a way. But let's see the first one, right? This is the non-personal approach. Indonesia, an emerging economic country, is predicted to be one of the top 5 largest economies in the world by 2050, according to PwC report. Let's stop there. Stop reading. Stop reading. Okay. Let's stop here. Don't forget. Remember the slide where I say you need to know your audience. When you read this, remember, try to put yourself as someone who doesn't know anything about Indonesia, or maybe yes, I've heard about Indonesia, but I don't know a lot about the country. And then read this sentence. What do you think? For me, when I read it, because like that's how I usually review the essays. When I review essays, I put myself into like a non-Indonesian mode, you know. And I have my Indonesian mode just a little bit, but then I'll try to put myself as someone who doesn't know Indonesia a lot. When I read this once, the first sentence, I found it really interesting in so many ways. First, okay, Indonesia. Ooh, that's a country that I rarely hear, right? It's an emerging economic country. Okay, got it. But it is predicted to be one of the top 5 largest economies in the world by 2050. And then imagine that the person is reading it is from, I don't know, maybe from the business department or maybe like the social science department or public policy departments, right? Will they find it interesting? Oh yeah, absolutely. By 2050, it's going to be one of the top 5 largest economies. Okay, what's up with that? And then the next sentence says, Indonesia also shows success in cutting the poverty rate of its total population to an amount of under 10%. Ooh, another interesting fact, right? Okay, so Indonesia wants to cut the poverty rate, and then they already do well, seems like. And then the next sentence is where the person's actually drop the bomb, right? And that's how I call it. However, despite this interesting facts about Indonesia, however, the World Bank claims that socio-economic inequality in Indonesia is widening at the same time, right? Eventuating in the situation where the result of its economic growth has only been enjoyed by the richest 20% of its society. And then the person keeps talking a little bit to add to that, and then the person stops in the introduction paragraph. As someone who doesn't know a lot about Indonesia or rarely hear about Indonesia, do I actually want to hear more about it? Because like the person presented with this interesting fact, and then the person actually drops the bomb by saying, however, and that's like where the argument starts, right? Do I keep wanting to read it? Of course, because I want to know where this person goes with the essay and what these persons actually want to do in our program, right? So that's the first one. This is the second one, which is my favorite. As one of Indonesia's founding fathers, Muhammad Hatta, had once said, Indonesia will not shine because of the torch in Jakarta, capital city, but Indonesia will glow because of the candles in the village. First of all, I want to give you a heads up that do not use quotation, especially the very common quotation that oftentimes we hear it like from or read it like online. But I give this specific person kind of like a pass because this is definitely not a common quotation, right? I found it, this is like a really interesting quotation. And I remember that when I read it, it kind of like, put a smile on my face, and I just love it. Like I said earlier, I'm a very proud Indonesian. I love all the stories about Indonesia, the fact that you guys want to fix the country and everything. I love it. That's why I love reading essays, and that's why I love giving this presentation every month. So when I stopped with this first sentence, I can already guess that this person must talk about or plan to apply something that is related to agriculture, or agriculture, right? Because it's talking about like village, and then especially on the next few sentences, Indonesia's food security relies on small farmers, farmers being the keyword here, which accounts for 90% of all Indonesian farmers. And then it's getting really interesting because this person's actually make a comparison with the country where she wants to go to study, which is the US, where she said, unlike US farmers who averagely owns 169 hectares per farmers, Indonesian farmers only hold less than 1 hectare averagely. Man, like seriously, if you are an American, um, rarely hear about Indonesia or rarely receive an applicant from Indonesia having this kind of stories, will they want to read more? Absolutely, especially this is just interesting facts. And then the person actually keeps going on and on, telling about like how agriculture is part of Indonesia, and then basically this person is, wants to kind of like better our agriculture system by using more technology, and then she wants to study in the U.S. because no other country is better than the U.S. when it comes to the agriculture industry. Right? That's why she actually gave a lot of comparison between Indonesia and the US, right? So I know this is a teaser. I don't know about you guys, but I really like, if I didn't know the whole story, I definitely want to read the whole essay, which by the way, she already got accepted. I'm very proud of her. So yeah, so this is the second essay, and then this is the last one, I think. Yeah, this is the last one. It has been almost 2 years since the president of the Republic of Indonesia, which is getting serious, right? We're bringing in president here. Since the president of the Republic of Indonesia officially launched Making Indonesia 4.0, which is kind of like the trend is happening now, right? A roadmap planned by the government to reach the goal of being in the top 10 world's most economically developed countries by 2030. Pretty similar to the first sample that I showed you, right? That Indonesia is actually going towards being economically developed countries. And then this person has actually also dropped the bomb on the next sentence. Unfortunately, there is still a deficiency of data specialists in Indonesia. And The person actually continue giving like facts and data on telling what is going on the ground. The fact that yes, Indonesia has this plan, but realistically speaking, we are not ready yet. So that's kind of like your argument in the essay that this person is going to have, right? So do you have an argument? Do you want to fix something? Do you see that there's a problem going on here in this country or in one community or what have you? And if yes, then you need to be very bold. You need to think about like, okay, so what do you want to do? What is your argument here? Okay, so if you see like this is how kind of an interesting introduction, non-personal approach type of paragraph that I'm hoping that you guys can start like build from it. Okay, I really hope that you kind of like get this. But let's see here, what do I have here? Okay, so once you kind of like have the idea of what you want to talk about in the introduction paragraph, you need to also remember that you want to assume that the reader knows nothing about the topic you write. However, you need to also remember that the person, remember on my first few slides, who are going to read this essay is going to be people who are in the department. So they're actually the expert of that program, but they are not necessarily the expert of the topic that you are telling, which is, let's see here, we're talking about like Indonesia, right? So what you want to do is you want to give a glimpse about Indonesia, kind of like give a background about like Indonesia. There are so many ways that you can do it. So for example, like I have an advisee who wants to, I don't know, it's very sciencey, and I'm not like a science person, but she wants to talk about like oil and gas and earth and all that stuff, and then she kind of like explain about give an imagination to the reader that where Indonesia is located, how we Indonesia is like a ring of fire, that kind of things that you want to kind of like give the reader kind of like, oh, okay, so that is Indonesia, right? And after that, you want to kind of like give them a teaser. So we are still in the introduction paragraph here, guys, by the way, just so you know. And then so the whole point is in the introduction paragraph is by giving a teaser before explaining more in depth in the next paragraphs. Because why are we still in the introduction paragraph? Because we don't want them to put your essay down. We want them to keep reading, and writing a really interesting one of a kind introduction paragraph is really that hard. That's why I spent actually so long in just introduction paragraph alone. But you give the glimpse of Indonesia, you give them a teaser, and then you tell them how urgent the situation is, how serious, how great the situation is, how great my plan is for the better of my country and stuff like that. Then they will kind of, I want to know more about this country, right? But then you have to be very specific. It's in the why and it's in the how. So you don't want to just like simply say, my big plan here is that I want to help the economy of Indonesia. We don't want that. We don't want that kind of sentence. If you want to use that kind of statement, go ahead, but then you have to elaborate. Okay? You have to explain the why and the how exactly would you help the economy of Indonesia. And that's basically what you're going to talk about in the essay. All right? Another tips that I would like to tell you that is always good is you can do a comparison between Indonesia's case or situation with other countries. So like what the second example of essay where she compared with the U.S. the similarities and no the differences of the U.S. But it doesn't always have about the U.S. If you want to kind of like compare it with like neighboring country, for example, I have a number of advices where she gave an example, a comparison with like Singapore and the Philippines and stuff like that. That's okay too. This is just like a tips. You don't have to always make a comparison, but if you can, that would be really amazing. Okay? At this point, remember, the goal is to wow the reader in the first paragraph and to make them keep reading the next paragraph. Okay? So, that said, it makes the last sentence of your first paragraph very important. So I want that sink in with you for a second here, right? So I already say that introduction paragraph is very important. It's hard to write, but the last sentence of your first paragraph is even more important because that's kind of like the turning point of the reader, whether or not they want to keep reading your essay. The last sentence of your first paragraph, very important. And there's so many other ways that you can do it. I started like telling people more and more where you can actually make a very bold statement and it can be like in a question form. You can actually do that. All right. Keep in mind when writing the essay. So basically, I'm done telling you guys about like the introduction paragraph. And as you can see, I basically talk about it for like over 30 minutes only on introduction paragraph alone. That's because I want you to really like try to sink in with you that writing into introduction paragraph is really important. I'm not going to spend too long talking about like the body paragraphs because then we probably need like another hour or so, and then I don't want to bore you with that. But what I'm trying to say is, as long as you have, because introduction paragraph is kind of like everything about your essay, right? A teaser, but almost kind of like everything of your essay. Once you have that, once you master the introduction paragraph, writing the body paragraphs is easy peasy. Okay, so let's wrap up basically what we have covered, or maybe I think there are a couple of bulleted statements that I have not mentioned here. But keep in mind when writing the essay, First, do not write a narrative story out of your CV. You already know that by now. You probably might be the expert. You can brag about it to your friend, right? The second one is you want to create a theme or topic of what it is that you want to talk about in your essay. Because when you're creating a theme or topic, once you have that topic, you will want to stick with that topic for the entire of your essay, right? Because we want to make a story, right? That's like the whole point, which is I think it's on the fourth bulleted statements here. Because you want to create a story. That's why when you have a theme or topic, all paragraphs have to be connected. So you can't say in one paragraph talking about, like the situation in Indonesia, and then the next paragraph you're talking about your experience volunteering. What? It doesn't connect it, right? There's already, going back to the third one, there's already a selling point in the fact that we are from Indonesia. So if you're at this point still kind of like nervous, anxious about like, oh, I don't know what to write, don't worry about it. Let's sit down one-on-one with me or with Santika, and then let's discuss together, right? But what I'm trying to tell you is that I've been doing this for quite a while now, 5 years. Well, maybe 4, because on my first year, I I have not started reading essays because I still need to learn. But anyway, what I'm trying to say to you is that because I have read a lot of different essays for the past 4 years, I'm telling you, there's already a selling point in the fact that we are from Indonesia. Probably you're watching this and you're not from Indonesia. Don't worry, there must be something about your country that is also amazing. But I'm just like stating the fact that we are from Indonesia, we are not a country where a lot of us actually apply to the US. So we are not a country like from China or India or Saudi or South Korea or Vietnam. But we are from Indonesia, where we actually still need a lot of Indonesian study in the US. So when you're actually applying to US right now, it's actually put your position very unique because they are not receiving a lot of applicants from Indonesia. Okay? Don't write something too general. Don't write something too general like, I want to help make Indonesia a better place. Those cliche stuff. But elaborate. Every statement that you write in your essay, you need to ask yourself, what is the point of me writing this? Oh, because I want to explain that this and this and that. So you have to elaborate, okay? You have to be an expert in that topic. Obviously, if you are not an expert in that specific topic, we need to step back a little bit, and then we need to figure that out first. You need to figure that out first, right? Demonstrate a passion for the chosen topic. Well, obviously, you need to know the strength and fit of the universities. I have not mentioned so far about this, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that in my next few slides. But you need to also know about like the strength and why you picked that university, right? Demonstrate clear career goals. Basically, this kind of like wrapping up what I have said over and over again, right? And don't compare yours with others. If you have like your senior or your friend who are already in the US, don't bother ask for their essay. Seriously, because I have a lot of advisors doing that, and then they just stressful. So stop doing that. Just attend the session. Share this, events to your friends. Just watch this, and then make an appointment with us. Do one-on-one advising. That's more than enough. That's what I've been doing with my advisees so far. Okay. Questions to ask yourself when you really start writing your statement of purpose is you also need to think about, why do you want to do what you want to do? Why do you want to fix the financial problem of Indonesia? Why? Why it has to be you? Of all other people in Indonesia, why do you want to be the one who wants to fix that? Right? What is the turning point or aha? This doesn't have to be like this, like the personal approach, which I put it here, but it's also applicable if you want to do the non-personal one. But try to think about like what is the turning point or the aha moment when you realize, when you talk to yourself that, oh wow, I need to do masters because I need to fix this, right? But if you are thinking about, oh wow, I need to study masters because some of the colleagues just now talk about they want to do masters and I want that too. That's a different story, right? Like that's not like the kind of quality that I see from people who want to study in the US. What is, if any, the issue that you would like to address? I covered that. any relevant research, internship work, or prior to your proposed study. I know that this sounds like something that you can put in your resume or CV, and I know that in the beginning I say to you that you do not write anything that is, out of your resume or CV. But the keyword here is relevant. Any relevant. So, for example, you did your undergraduate thesis in one specific research, and then the reasons why you want to study master's is because the research is kind of like ongoing, and you want to continue that research. Maybe then you put it in the essay, especially if the university asks, right? How do the program and university you choose? This is something again, like I said earlier, I have not mentioned anything about the university, but you need to start thinking about like how do the program and university that you choose over another help you address the issue. So here is actually quite tricky to write because we don't want you to just say, "Oh, I picked this university because they are ranked #1 in the U.S." That's very boring. That's very general. Everyone knows that, and very like on point, and very important. So when you talk about like the program and the specific university, you need to be able to connect what the university has with how you can implement that to the problem that you have on your body paragraph, right? You also need to think about why should they select you over another candidate, because another thing about us writing this essay is so that we need to persuade them, for them to pick us over another candidate, right? And then again, what goals, something that you already know by now. You need to know that by now, okay? Writing the body and conclusion paragraph. So I have about, let's say, 15 minutes here before I start the Q&A. So we are actually near the end, but then as you can probably already see that I spent a big chunk of my presentation focusing so much on introduction paragraph because, like I said earlier, once you have that, writing the body and conclusion paragraph will be less hard, less difficult, less challenging. But what happens in the body and conclusion paragraph is that after you are done with the teaser in the introduction paragraph, you are going to demonstrate what you said in the introduction paragraph. You're going more in depth about it. So you want to talk more about the case again, giving numbers, giving like facts and data, and anything that you want to share to the reader, right? That will give you probably about 1 or 2 paragraphs depending on the words limit. And then again, as a reminder, you can compare it with neighboring countries if you want, or the United States, that's even better. And then once you kind of like done with explaining more in depth about the whole thing, the next paragraph, which is before the conclusion paragraph, is when you are basically saying, look, so I present to you what is going on in my country or in this community that I want to fix, and this is why I need to study in your campus, or this is why I need to pursue master's degree in the US, because blah, 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 blah. The blah, 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 blah part is actually really tricky. Like I said earlier, you don't want to just say, oh, because you are, located in the heart of Manhattan. I'm not like a big fan of like using location, or you're saying that, oh, this university just is, like well known, like rank #1, something that they already know. But if you say that, look, that's why I need to study in your campus because you have this one internship program called blah, 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 or you have this club called blah, 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 woman, blah, 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 where if I join that, I will learn firsthand about this, which if I'm going back to Indonesia and implement this way, it will be very blah, 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 blah. You have to go that deep, right? I know probably at this point you'll be like, oh man, like I didn't know that writing an essay is actually this hard, and you have to be very, like that details and everything. But yes, you have to go very detailed about it, because the whole reason of you writing the essay is because we don't want to give the reader a chance not to pick you, not to accept you, right? So that's basically the whole point. And so when you talk about like the university, there are some ways that you can do it. You can mention specific course. So you have to. So when you pick a campus, you can't just like simply because of the name of the university is, like it's a big name university. That's why I want to apply to. But you need to really do a deep research about that program. So you need to learn about the classes, the courses that they offer. Read about the syllabus, the description of that courses. So you can mention that. But then when I say this, oftentimes I see a lot of my advisees, after they mention specific course, the next sentence is they just simply kind of like copy paste the description of the course into the essay. And I said, no, 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 no. We don't want that. We don't want to go easy like that. We want to go hard. So what do I mean by that? So after you mention a specific course, you want to elaborate how that course exactly going to help you reach the goal that you already put in the body paragraph, in the previous body paragraphs. Is it hard? Absolutely. So that's why when you pick a campus, you need to do a lot of research about it. You really need to know inside and out about that program, about that university, right? Another thing is you can also mention relevant professors who inspired you to apply for the program. Maybe that professor has done research in Indonesia. I actually see a lot of my advisees shared with me that, and I found it really interesting. I mean, of all other countries in the world, they have to do the research in Indonesia. Come on, that's like really amazing. And put that in the essay. Okay? You need to be very well acquainted with the program at schools being considered. This is what I mean by, you need to know like the inside and out of the university, know the strength and fit of that institutions of that universities, demonstrate clear career goals. Oh my God, I have no idea like how many times I mentioned this, but this is just to kind of like put in the back of your mind that just as long as you know what is your purpose, what is your goals, you're good to go. Okay. What are they for you in Indonesia? That's kind of like another interesting question that you can start thinking about before you write your essay, right? Refer to specific aspects of the program that matches your interests. Again, this is a lot of research needs to be done about that university. What attracts you to the program compared to other program? Maybe this specific program will allow you to do internship in Peru or whatever. I don't know, right? Something that a country that has something like has similarities with Indonesia or something like that. Or maybe these universities have like this one program or one club that no other universities have, and so on, right? And then conclusion. We're almost at the end here. What's conclusion is kind of like what's next after the program. Well, technically, conclusion is kind of like you wrapping up the whole thing, but I found it really hard to write that. And if you ask me how to do it, I don't know. But I actually found another way to tweak about how to write a conclusion, which is just talk about like what's next after the program. Talk about some of like the steps or plans that you're going to do right after you're done with the program, right? It doesn't have to be something that you are definitely going to do, but as long as you have that plan already and you can actually be as ambitious as possible, and I want you to be ambitious actually, then that's what you want to put in the conclusion, right? What makes your statement of purpose great? I'm just going to wrap it up here a little bit. So I'm going to go real quick here. It doesn't have to be clear. You don't want to assume the reader understands everything. They are, yes, from the admissions committee. They're from that department. The admission committee is from that department, so they are definitely the expert of the program. But at the same time, we don't want to assume that they understand everything that we are saying. It has to be concise. Use words economically, especially if the university require only like small amount of words. It has to be well written. Well, obviously, right? It has to be organized, meaning that you have to be sure that you answer all questions asked, and it has to be into one story, meaning that it has to be relevant from one paragraph to another. And don't forget that you have to sound like you have to set yourself apart from other applicants when you write the story, right? It has to speak to your audience, which is the admissions committee, which is kind of like coming back to like the first one. We don't want to assume that the reader understands everything, so you have to be careful on that part. You want to establish your voice, you have to show that you are the expert and how you really want to change it, how you really want to change things, right? And then of course you want to be honest. You don't want to try so hard just so that you can get accepted, right? The do's: give yourself plenty of time to write it. Hopefully, there are people who are watching this session that is actually not for fall 2021, but for 2022. If you guys are here for 2022, please shout out to us in the chat. We want to know how many are you guys. But I opened this session for everyone. There are a number of universities that still open their deadline for fall 2021 until like March, April next year. And now this is the first time for you to watch the session. That's okay too, but we kind of like have to go real quick. We need to run here from here, right? You can't just walk. Again, be sure to answer all questions asked. Come up with a theme. We already know that. Begin with an attention grabbing lead. We also cover that. You want to articulate a clear, realistic purpose, of course. Use concrete examples of life, especially if you have like the unusual experience and all that. We want to ignore negatives here. You can be very bold. You can be you have like a bold statement, or you can argue about like the country or whatever, but there are ways not to sound negative, and I'm very good in catching that, because again, I'm a very proud Indonesian. So even though we are saying that, oh, probably the government is not doing really well in this aspect, there are actually ways not to sound like they are doing really bad. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, is okay, they are not doing really well, but that's why I'm here. That's why I want to study masters, because I want to fix that. I want to help them. You see the differences here, right? And then you want to form conclusion where, yeah, well, like I said earlier, you can tell the next plan that you're going to do. The don'ts, we are really near to the end here. Grammatical errors. I have not mentioned the word grammatical errors all night long so far, but this is the don'ts. We do not want to have grammatical errors. Is it the only one? Absolutely not. But before that, I want to let you know that you want to definitely get an English native speaker to check on the grammar, and I highly recommend you to specifically get an American. If you can, don't go outside the US. It has to be an American, because I just feel like they have like their own way and expressing things that I don't see it from other English native speaker from countries outside the US. The reason is because I have not mentioned this. Probably this is kind of like a mind blown fact, but Education USA Ad America advisors, and I think the whole Education USA as well, but at least with Education USA Ad America, which is with Santika and myself, we only help you with the structure. That's basically what I have been talking for the last an hour and 15, 20 minutes, right? We are not checking you on the grammar, because I'm fully Indonesian through and through. English is not my first language. My English is not perfect, and I'm not comfortable in checking your grammar, and I'm not able to do it anyway, right? So the don'ts, not only just grammatical errors, but something that I basically kind of like already mentioned a little bit, like you don't want to write about autobiography. Avoid contractions like they've, could, and should have. We want to spell that out. They have, could, not, should have, just to make it neat. We don't want you to list experience and achievements out of like your resume unless it's relevant. We don't want to say something cliches or general, or anything that is on the surface, like I have always wanted to be, but we want to elaborate even more. References to experience or accomplishments before college. So like things that you do like before, like in high school, unless you want to talk about, you want to use like the personal approach on the introduction paragraph, and that goes all the way to like your childhood. That's going to be a different story. We want to avoid like controversial or highly unconventional topics, unless you want to actually cover that controversial topics like religion and politics, then by all means, that's okay. Okay. Writer's block. Do you know what writer's block is? So writer's block is if you're a writer, right, and you need to write a book, and you set yourself a deadline, and then you already set a plan that, okay, I'm going to sit down today, spend for the next 1-2 hours writing my essay in this case. And then so when you're sitting down, you already have like your laptop ready, and then you just have no idea, like zero idea what to write. That's like what writer's block is. But don't worry, that can happen to you, that can happen to anyone. But I give you tips You can start by writing down your thoughts and worry about how it sounds later. So you can start writing it in Bahasa if necessary, because I know that, for some of us, if not for all of us, English is not our first language. And so we found it really hard when you have to write everything in English. So then write it in Bahasa. But it's really interesting because when I start putting this slide, this specific bullet statement, like I think last year or something, I actually start seeing people coming to me and then they give me the draft in Bahasa. And then I said, wait, how come it's in Bahasa? And then they were like, wait, I thought you said just start writing in Bahasa. And I was like, yeah, I said that. But when you come to me, which I didn't say it, now I'm saying it to you, is that you, like when you come to me, you definitely want to give it in English already. Okay. And then another one is write as long as possible, because I feel like a lot of us have a hard time writing it because you are already think about like how limited that you can write. So maybe the university only asks you to write like 500, and then like you just like frustrated, like because oh my god, I can't. Now I realize that I can't write just like in 500. You know what? Let's forget about it later. Just write as long as possible. I have a number of advisors come to me and they gave me like 3 4 pages, and then we need to cut it down to like 1 page. But just write as long as possible. Ask others who know you well, like your professors, the people closest to you, to help you brainstorm, right? But there's a tricky part about it. Here in Indonesia, maybe because it's our culture, we don't want to hurt the other person's feeling. And so when you actually ask someone who knows you really well, maybe like even your best friend, and then like you tell them the backstory, like, hey, look, I've been writing like essay for the 1 week, like I really put my all to this essay. Please give me your honest. But then because you already say that in the beginning, right? Like, oh my god, like I've spent like so much time in this essay, and then that person, your best friend, feel really bad if he or she said something bad. So then at the end they're just saying, "Ooh, this is actually like a really nice essay," while in fact the person kind of like maybe don't really understand what the essay is all about. So if you're kind of like concerned about that happening here, do the other way. Ask strangers. I'm going to be your strangers technically, but then it's like two in one in a way. Like I'll be a stranger, but then at the same time, I will be honest to you. Like if I think that, oh, this isn't, it's not, it's interesting, but it's not that interesting, and we can actually make it better. And then I will like not only I will say that, but then I will actually guide you on that as well. Okay. And then last but not least, I think I found it really helpful. Record yourself speaking about the topic or your thought wherever you are. I know it sounds crazy, maybe, but like wherever, maybe you're like in a on a train, and then you're thinking like, oh, I think I have an idea of what to put in the introduction paragraph. Put it down, like on your like type it, or maybe like if you're on your own at home, and then you just kind of like record yourself. And another thing is like when we do a one-on-one session, record it using your phone, right? Because I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, and without you really realizing it, it's actually you brainstorming for the essay. Okay? So, in summary, start early, at least 2 years before the program starts. I can't stress this enough. If you have your deadline in January or February or March and you have not started your essay, forget about writer's block, man. Like, you don't have that luxury. You don't have that luxury, right? We need to like really speed things up. Okay. Start early. So if you're here for 2022, kudos to you, amazing. But doesn't mean that if you're here for the deadline in January, February, March, I'm not going to help you. But I'm just saying that we probably won't have time for it. But I'll be here. I'll be around to help you. Okay. Do not write about your biography out of your CV. You have to understand this by now. But you talk about your vision, your professional goals, and what you would like to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years after the program. You have to know all this. Okay. Ask the big questions if you kind of like still confused about like what to write. What or who am I trying to help? What is my goal in the future that requires me to study all the way in the US? Why it has to be you, right? And last but not least, write, rewrite, and rewrite your essay. I think some of my advisees can definitely like agree on this, where like at some point probably they think that I'm giving them a hard time because I keep telling them like, it's not there, it's not there yet, it's not there yet, it's not there yet. I have like an advisee where like every time he came in, he wrote like this is like the draft number whatever, and then it's like over 10 drafts. So it means that it's already like over 10 times that I keep telling him that it's not there yet, it's not there yet, it's not there yet. But trust me, I'm not trying to make yourself harder. I'm just trying to put you in a position where your essay will end up just not, oh, it's a really good essay. No, I don't do good. I do great. Right? So if you want me to take a look at your essay, that's going to be that way. It's going to be like I'm going to level up your style. Okay? So EducationUSA at America advisors are here. In fact, this is our most demanding service. I don't know about the other center, but at least for Ad America, this is the most demanding service that people come to us for. So we are able to give you a review and we give you feedback of your essays honestly, and we help you through and through. Okay. Don't forget, again, we assist you on the structure, not the grammar. We do not review scholarship essays, by the way, only on a special case. Fulbright, we try not to, but if you really want us to do it, and if you're not really that busy, like helping other people who with the university's essay, we're probably able to do it. And we're not actually review essays still in Bahasa, so please make it in English. My schedule for essays review is technically any day. So my shift since the pandemic is every day from 5 until 9. But I have my preference days when it comes to essay review. That is Sunday and Monday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But obviously, like today, I'm not like taking any advisee because I'm here giving the session. But Sunday and Monday are very ideal. You can send the draft to my email here, so I'll leave it here. I think Santika can help me copy paste this email as well in the chat, and maybe Santika's email as well. So you can definitely reach out to either Santika or myself. We don't do offline review, by the way, so we don't, and we actually don't appreciate when people email us and Fina would like you to take a look at my essay. Here's my draft. And please get back to me with the comments. I'm not doing that. Can I do that? I can. Do I want to? I don't want to. I want you to be present when I read the essay. Okay? So we don't do offline review. I only do it on some cases where, for example, the person has already come back and forth a couple of times and we are almost done. So like I did a couple of days ago, this person, we're almost done. So I read it offline and then I just got back to this person real quick, giving them the okay. But if it's like for the first time, I want you to come on Zoom. All right. I believe my next one would be questions exactly. Okay, so well, I think I kind of like go over a little bit tonight. Not sure what happens. Usually by 8, I'm already done, but I'm going to stop share my presentation here, and then I'm going to check with Santika. Santika, how are we doing?
Hi, Fina. Thank you so much for your elaborate presentation. And as usual, I think so many of our participants, or not like all, everyone who's watching, not even in Zoom, but on our social media, learned so much tonight. And I definitely learned something new as well, just because every time we do the same presentation, but there's just something that adds up because we keep having new advices with their new stories. So
yeah, and then another thing that I like to share with people is that like I've been using the same slides every single month, but then I found it actually every time I give the presentation every month, there always something new that I never thought of like saying it last time, but I just like automatically say it. So
yeah, because I think the one of the reasons for that is because we keep having new advices and they come to us with new stories and essays and cases that what happened that they want to apply and they have this kind of situation and whatever. So that actually makes us, I don't know, more dynamic in a sense of whenever we share next time we have something new, And I already shared our email in the chat box if you're in Zoom. So for Fina's is falatas@educationusa.org, and mine is salim at educationusa.org. And for essays, we would love to, make you stay with one advisor, just because let's say if you go to Fina and she give you an input, and then next time you meet me, I wouldn't know what kind of input Fina have given you. So it's actually nicer, and to avoid miscommunication that way, unless like Fina or me refer you to one another, then that's a different case. There are some cases that in the past that I actually refer my advisee to Fina, just because it's like, oh, Fina would love to read this kind of topic and everything like that. And Fina also sometimes do the same thing, So that's just how it is with us. And we love that we have each other, so that we can, give you the best service that we can. Okay, so we have not a lot of questions today, Fina, but the questions is, it have a theme today, tonight. The theme is kind of like how much detail we should be giving in our essay. So we have Bambang, Tara, and Doni here. They're quite concerned on, the details that they should be providing in the essay, because you told them that you have to have a clear goal and everything like that, and you give them samples of, like if you want to address a problem or approach it from a personal point of view, during your in your introduction paragraph. So I will start with a question from Bambang here. Saya ingin bertanya mengenai pertanyaan terkait what do you want to become immediately after graduation. Jika saya ingin langsung mencari pekerjaan, apakah sebaiknya saya menjawab secara spesifik nama company-nya, atau secara general aja? Contohnya, I want to join Goldman Sachs, or I will write, I want to join investment bank. And this connects to Donnie's question juga to me, because he actually is working in Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, and then he don't have that kind of purpose in making like curing cancer or improve access for small businesses in Indonesia. So it's basically kind of like to kind of like career advancement thing.
Yeah.
So is that
Yeah.
okay?
That's actually really interesting, and I can actually talk a little bit about what an advisee that I'm currently working with. I can I guess that Bambang wants to apply for an MBA. I think I can guess that you want to apply for an MBA, or maybe kind of like in the finance industry. In that case, normally I wouldn't normally like mention like the company, at least not what I see from my advisees. It's more like how they want to better, or how they can implement what they've been studied, right? But I know like for MBA programs or like finance program, their question is pretty straightforward. Like they're asking you what is your long term, like short or long term goal.
Yeah.
So in this case, I would say that's okay if you want to mention, especially if yes, you want to apply for an MBA program. It's pretty common for MBA that you mention actually the company. It's like a different approach actually when writing an essay for MBA. And I actually kind of have a hard time reading it because it's kind of like outside my usual like structure, because like my structure, like if you pay attention to my slides tonight, it's more about what can you do for the country, like how you can actually, the kind of impact that you're going to have. And it's, I don't really see that actually so much in like MBA program, right? So let me talk a little bit about like what I have, like one advisee that I'm still currently working on. I'm almost done, but she wants to do finance, master's in finance. But she said it quite clearly from the beginning that she's, after the program, she's coming back to the bank that she's currently working at. So she kept mentioning like the bank name, and yeah, in that case, that's totally okay. Although it's pretty similar to like other type of programs, like maybe like I have like advisees where they are in the Ministry of Finance, for example, or Ministry of whatever, and then they're saying that they're going back to that place to kind of like implement whatever. So yeah, no, the answer to this is that's totally okay.
Yeah. And I will say if you want to do that, you need to really make sure that the master degree or the PhD degree that you want to get from that university really relates to the company's, like, how do I call that? The industry itself. You
Yeah.
don't want to, study finance and then you say, I want to go to Google. Like, you have to relate so much to that in order for you to include that in your essay. But I usually see some of my advisee actually put some names, Fina, like company name and everything. And sometimes I do give them advice to include that just because to give the admission committee kind of like vision, like, oh,
Yeah.
this is what kind of companies that you want to go. Because when they mention I want to try, take the opportunity for OPT, and then you don't really have a vision of what kind of company you want to try to apply for, it feels like you can still fill in that details. So that's why I suggested that. But of course, if you have a goal and it's specific, you can mention that. Although we don't want you to list like a whole bunch of company names in it because that's going to be
And yeah, and the thing about it is because when you like in a regular essay like the one that I covered tonight, the part when you really talk about exactly how like exactly where you're gonna go or the plan that you're going to do is basically just in your conclusion paragraph. So it's actually
That's
just
right.
like at the end of your essay.
Yep.
So it's just kind of like a small aspect of it. Again, unless it's if it's like an MBA where they literally ask you like where you're gonna go after this, but like for the other essays, it's just yeah, just like in the conclusion and like the bigger chunk of your essay is more about telling a story, right? Because like I keep saying that you're writing a story here, you're writing a story here, so you're basically telling about what is actually really going on and all that. And this is like what makes it. I think this is the one thing that I forgot. Like when I give the presentation, like I was like, then there's something that I didn't mention.
Yeah.
I didn't mention about like how is it different than like when you write an essay to like outside like countries outside the U.S. And that's why I see this type of question because usually when you write for like countries outside the US, it's more about like your timeline, your narrative story, where you start with maybe like where did you graduate from, and then you talk about like where you work. You're not necessarily need to tell about like why do you want to fix this problem or why do you want to innovate this
Yeah.
is something, right? And then I can see that after you're talking about like, oh, I'm currently working at this company, I'm doing this, basically kind of like taking out of your resume and or CV, but you making it into like a story. And then of course, at the end, what are you gonna end up with? You're gonna end up with, and then I'm going to work. That's kind of like where the narrative actually go, right? And
Yeah.
that's why it's not really like what the US essay is about. So
Yeah. So, and disclaimer that Fina and I actually got a lot, or not most, of our advisees that are going to apply for like LPDP or Fulbright. So that's why they come to us with something naturally that they already have planned with, like, oh, I want to fix this. Oh, I want to improve this, because if you're applying for like LPDP or Fulbright or any other scholarship, the chances are that they will kind of try to find people with that kind of characteristic that you want to contribute to a bigger society. But in terms of like MBA in or Master of Finance, like what Donnie shared just now, we don't see a problem with it as long as you can write an essay that answer the prompt, regardless of what kind of the prompt that they give to you. And sometimes for MBA, it's going to be very detailed, like Vina said. So that's that. I hope we answer your question, Bambang and Doni. And moving to Tara, we also have a similar question on like how specific that we should
yeah, that's
write.
interesting.
Mhm.
Similar questions, yeah.
Yeah, I want to work in. So she asked if that she can write something clear but vague at the same time. So I was like, can you give me an example? And then she give me like, I want to work. So let's say if I write, I want to work in a certain company, as this for a few years, and then should I just write, I would like to involve myself in the sector after I graduate. So it's
It
like,
really, yeah, it's actually really interesting because it really depends on what kind of story that you're going to write in the essay.
Right.
Because another thing that I forgot to mention is that when you write your essay, you will realize that there is actually nothing about yourself in there. Unless you're using the personal approach introduction, right? But that's like just like a very small part. But the rest of the essay, if you actually really pay attention to my event tonight, you're basically just tell what is going on and why that is. Like, I actually have people ask me, like, where is the room for me to talk about myself? And I said, no need, because the structure that I give you tonight will give the reader a sense that, whoa, without me knowing who you are exactly, I already know that you are an amazing person. Again, like I mentioned earlier, right? Like, depends on how big the situation that you want to cover, if it's like a country or like a community. So without actually you talking about, I'm going to work here, I want to work there, without you saying it, but instead you're talking about, like, look, I want to fix this community of people because then there will be da 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 da. They don't need to know where you're gonna end up working.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and they want. And another thing is, when I have advisees that are so scared that whatever they mention will be some kind of like agreement or apa sih, kayak perjanjian yang sakral gitu. No, it's not going to be like that. So whatever you write in there, it's not like after you graduate, they're going to check, oh, you are going to the company that you mentioned in your essay when you apply to us, right? You're going there, right? Like, it's what you wrote, like you should go there. No, they don't do that. Like, so you just need to give them a vision of who you want to be, not exactly where you will end up. Because I think what the sense of that your goal is more like what you want to be, not like where you want to end up, if that makes sense to you guys, So regardless of where you end up, I think this is what Pina is trying to say. Regardless of which or which institution that you want, and it's actually the goal that matters, like what you want to do in support of their program, so that should relate. I mean, if not, why are you applying there, right? I hope that answers your question, Tara. So yeah, you can go as detailed as you want, but it's actually case by case where it's necessary or not. So I have this advisee who give me a last paragraph or like the conclusion paragraph. In the next 2 years, I plan to research this and then go back to Indonesia, and then within 5 until 6 years upon my graduation, I plan to be the head of this and that, so that I can change the system or anything, which is great. If you can give them a vision of, okay, so you need this title in order for you to make the changes that you want to make, which is your goal. So that is that makes sense. But yeah, it's case by case. Just send us your draft. And I'm going to the next question here. I think we have one question regarding to scholarship. This is from Ahan in Facebook. Apakah kemungkinan di umur 40 tahun mendapat beasiswa ke USA? So I hope you're still watching, Ahan. My answer is for LPDP. Tadi aku research untuk S2 maksimalnya 35 tahun. Untuk S3 maksimalnya 40 tahun. Kalau untuk di Fulbright, if you check in their FAQ, frequently asked questions page, emang tulisannya no age limit. So there you go. I hope that helps. Untuk lebih detailnya, you need to go to their official website lpdp.kemenku.go.id, sama Fulbright itu aminef.or.id. You just need to check on their FAQ and everything like that, because like I mentioned tadi 35 sama 40 untuk LPDP itu pasti ada fine printnya lagi, ada detail-detailnya lagi that you need to check. Okay?
Yeah, palingan if I may add to that, if I don't know, like if you're aiming for master's degree or PhD, but maybe PhD, something to think about, like when it comes to PhD, you're not like necessarily need to go with LPDP or Fulbright, because when it comes to PhD in the US, it's actually really interesting because they actually have a lot of funding available, and it's very common when you do PhD in the US where the university is going to pay for it. So it's definitely possible. And when it comes to just directly getting the funding from the university won't see your age at all. So
Yeah, I do. One of my advisee that's applying for PhD for kayak oceanography kalau aku nggak salah ingat. Dia concernnya adalah umurnya segini. Can I still be accepted in that department? So karena dia worry banget, so I went ahead and emailed the university, the department,
you
and
did.
they come back with such a good response that if you're applying for a PhD, kayak dia malah ngasih jawabannya dari universitinya. The answer was like, most of our candidates are actually in this kind of age range, so you don't have to worry about that
Nice.
at all. So I forwarded that answer, and then he was just so relieved and focused on the
Wow.
application itself.
That's good.
So
That's good to know.
anything that you guys are like, doubtful in terms of very technical, kayak sekolah ini nerima kayak gini nggak sih, atau department ini nerima ini apa enggak, atau if they have any scholarship opportunities, in this case for PhD, usually it's called research and teaching assistantship ya, Vina ya.
Yep.
So you can email them and ask those kind of questions to them directly. Biasanya kayak financial aid at namauni.edu. That's the kind of email that's official on their website. Biasanya ada. So don't hesitate to contact them and ask that kind of questions. They are going to help you as much as they can. Okay. And of course, you can come to us too. So yeah, I hope that helps. Thank you, Fina, for adding that details. I think that is going to be very helpful for Ahan. So next question from Ifan. I actually talked with Ifan in the chat box when you were presenting tadi. So Ifan asked here, I want to apply to university, which I asked which university, and he said Columbia, and it requires 3 written essays and 1 video essay. Do you have some advice for the video essay? And I actually asked him, the video essay is real time atau kayak pre-recorded that you have to submit the file? And he said it's real time. So any advice?
And I guess, I think Ifan is applying for SIPA.
Ooh, is it correct?
I think it is, right? Because I actually have an advisee that I just finished working together on the essay. It's already done, and then she said, like all she needs to prepare now is the video essay, and then we talk a little bit about that the other day, about the video essay, which I'll be happy to share with you about video essay. So with the video essay, it's kind of like, think about it like when if you take TOEFL, it's almost similar, but this one is a bit scarier, I want to say, because they really want to check on your, maybe because if you're international students, that are going to check with your English, but then at the same time they want to check with your critical thinking in a way. So I actually have not seen it directly myself, like how it looks like, but I heard it from my advisees, where basically you're going to get a link, they're going to open it, and then they're going to give you the question, and then you have like, I don't know like how long, but for you to prepare before you kind of like record yourself. And so my tips on that is, you don't need to kind of remember, well, there's no way that you will know the question anyway, but then you don't have to, like practice and try to, remember how to answer certain questions. For me, just like be yourself, like how we talk, Santika, you and I. Just as long as you already know what is it about, like public policy and all that, like the topic and all that. I think you're gonna do great. Probably if you want to practice, just kind of like practice, record yourself and see how you're talking, just to make sure that, I know like myself, like I love to use my hands, for example, right? So I don't know the kind of person you are. If people are nervous, you're kind of like very tight, maybe you want to kind of like practice a little bit more on how to make it a little bit, loosen up a little bit,
so. Yeah. And if it helps you to kind of like feel more ready, maybe you want to have some bullet points ready just in case you go blank when you're, you know, on the video. That's just from me, additional tips from me. But of course, you need to know if you need it or not. If you don't think you need it, then you don't have to. So we have two more questions coming up, and we have so little time. Actually, we run out of time. So I'm just gonna answer this as best as I could. From Aulia Hanifah in Facebook. I hope you're still watching. How long will you still accept our essay through email? So I don't really understand the question, but I think you're asking sampai kapan kita bisa menerima essay kamu. So,
all year long.
Actually all year long, right, Vina? Tapi kita nggak mau nerima kalau udah H-min berapa sampai kamu deadline application kamu. Like H-min 1, H-min 2, H-min 3 itu kita kayak we are nervous and you are extra nervous. So
yeah, well, I mean, I actually had in the past where people came to me and then the deadline is tomorrow, and then and before I said yes to it, I told them, I asked them, do you really want me to take a look at it? Because I'm such an honest person that if I think that your essay is still nowhere to be, you know, like a good essay, I will say it. But then, are you sure you want me to say that? If that's the case, because then it will put you in under pressure and everything. And then there are some advices where, oh yeah, okay, I'm not gonna share it with you. But then there are some who would like, yeah, I'll be ready. And then there are some advices where I said, oh, this is actually really good, you know, good job. And then there's actually another one where I said, actually, it's not what I have in mind when it comes to essay. So it's actually really interesting because I have a meeting with the senior manager of America today, and he asked me questions like, so is there any like time for you guys, advisors, like for Santika and you to when you kind of like take a break, not taking any, you know, like advisee or essay or whatever? And I said, no, all year long. And the thing is, we love, I think Santika start to love reading essay, but I love reading essay. So keep it coming, guys. Keep it coming. And then,
yeah, for Fina, she talked about the writer's block. For me, I would say reader's block because some days I just cannot read essays and make comments or review it. So I do have my preferred days as well.
Exactly.
So go ahead and email me first, and I'll let you know on the availability days on essays because it takes about an hour per session, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And
so
then
that's a long session.
And then again, guys, I also mentioned about like my preference days, which is Sunday and Monday. You can, you know, consult with Santika when is, you know, like the best day for Santika. Sometimes I would, you know, kind of like on a Tuesday, and I just don't feel like reading. You know, to be completely honest, I'm not really into reading an essay today, and then I have to kind of like, okay, let's go back tomorrow because. Again, like when we're reading essays, it's very important, and we really need like full concentration because we're not like reading essay just so that let's get done with it, you know, like we're really helping you. So we need we're all out. So, and just real quick, Santika, like I'm really sorry, Yan. So we got Yan Bastian here actually asked earlier if he can do it early. You know what? Why don't you join the Saturday events? So on the Saturday events. Which I think I forgot to mention, like if you join the Saturday events, I actually want everyone to turn on their camera, and then let's just discuss, like let's just ask questions or like verbally, right? So Yan, if you can, great, sure will. Okay, sounds. I'll see you on
Saturday. Please come, Yan.
It's gonna be fun. We're just gonna kind of like probably we can revisit this topic again if you still kind of like want me to talk about it, and so it will be fun.
Last question from Astrid Emily in Instagram. Adakah daftar scholarship selain LPDP dan Fulbright? So we don't have the list, and that's for you to actually work on and research on. So go ahead to find find more scholarship opportunities the universitas website.
Exactly.
So the official university website, or like as detailed as the department, the department that you want to apply on the university website. So, and then you can find out, or if you cannot find any, you can email them and ask them the opportunity that's available for you, right? So I think that's it for today. It has been really fun, and I hope that you guys can, you know, write a good draft and send it to Fina or me. For Fina, she will say it's not there yet, but for me, I will just say ditunggu revisinya. So I didn't even count how many times ada advice yang sampai semoga ini revisi terakhir. Terus I'm like, maybe 1 or 2 times again. So I usually add more than what I think they will need just in case.
Yeah, and then the fun part is at the end when we are pretty much like done. Like when I say, "Oh my God, this is so good!" Like in the beginning, I always tell my advisees, "Don't delete your first draft."
Yeah.
And then when we are done, try to compare the
Wow.
essay that you have now with your first draft. And then almost everyone was like, "Oh my God, like I can't
Mind blown.
believe I wrote that," and then I end up with something amazing like this. You know?
Oh,
So
that's going to be fun. I need to add that into my
yeah,
sessions as
yeah,
well.
give it a try. Give it a
But
try.
yeah, I don't really count how many times. So a lot of advisors nanya berapa kali nih boleh review essay-nya sama advisor di Education USA at America. We don't have a limit, but we would love to see you improve. So as long as you come back with improvements that we kind of like suggested to you, we are going to be very happy to have you back. Okay? I think that's all.
Okay, so
I'll
there's
leave it to
there's one more just coming in from YouTube, which is it's really interesting tonight because some of the questions are pretty much like in the same category. So this is from in YouTube asking about can you be
Wow.
too old to be in a PhD program? Like what Santika said earlier. Technically, it's
Not really.
not really, especially
really.
with PhD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
I actually, the funny thing about US education is that it's that flexible and that non-discriminatory that I actually met during my college years or my days there. I've met a veteran, like he finished his army and serving the country and everything. So he's pretty much not the age of, the freshman age anymore, and he's still there for the undergrad. And it also applies to, I think, when I got my answer from the university on the PhD program, that most of their candidates are actually around 40, 50, or even 60. So yeah, I don't see age is going to be something that's very strict in a sense, as long as you fulfill their requirements as the candidate. So that shouldn't be a problem. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So I think we can just wrap things up. Thank you so much, Santika, for helping me during
Thank
my
you,
presentation.
everyone.
I really thanks everyone who's watching this session in Zoom and other platform, hearing me talking nonstop for whatever like an hour and a half. But I really hope there are a lot to learn from this session, and we still have one more event to close the year, which is this coming Saturday. It will be fun. I promise you, no slides. We're just gonna like have discussion. It's going to be Saturday morning. I really hope to see you guys again. And of course, the whole point of us having this event is because Santika and I, we want to urge you to come and see us, use our service. We are here for you guys. I know it sounds too good to be true because we're not asking you anything in return, but we just actually want to help you. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you again, Santika. Thank you, Ed America team, and I'll see you guys next time. And I'm gonna give you back to Anton.
Thank you very much, Fina and Santika, for the wonderful session we just had tonight. And I hope that all of us here are now more capable of writing a good essay for US universities. Thank you for sharing the knowledge. And now, earlier in the event, I asked you guys an icebreaker question. And the question was, this school is the second oldest college in the United States. In the United States, is it A, Washington and Lee University, B, Brown University, C, College of William and Mary, or D, University of Virginia? And the correct answer is C, College of William and Mary. We have a winner for tonight. Congratulations to Astrid Amelie from Instagram. Congratulations for getting the answer right. And now you might be wondering, how can you develop an awesome idea for a place like this? Well, wonder no more. You can come straight to our website at www.atamerica.or.id and then click Create an Event and collaborate with us and submit your proposal there. All proposals will be reviewed and your event might just end up here very soon. And while you're on our website, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter so you can receive information about our upcoming events sent straight to your inbox. Well, folks, this has been how to write a statement of purpose or personal essay for U.S. universities. Don't forget to follow us on social media and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we hope to see you again at the next Ad America TV event. Goodbye, everybody.